The name Idi Amin Dada still echoes with a chilling resonance through the annals of 20th century history. His ascent to power in Uganda did not merely mark a change in leadership, it heralded an era of unprecedented brutality, chaos, and profound human suffering that left an indelible scar on a nation. Today, we undertake a somber historical analysis, meticulously examining the terrifying truth behind his rise, the mechanisms of his tyrannical rule, and the devastating legacy that continues to demand our critical attention. On January 25th, 1971, the fragile political landscape of Uganda was irrevocably altered. Idi Amin, then commander of the armed forces, seized power in a swift military coup, overthrowing President Milton Obote. This dramatic power shift was initially met with a complex mix of relief and cautious optimism by many Ugandans, weary of Obote's increasingly authoritarian tendencies and socialist policies. Amin, a charismatic figure, skillfully presented himself as a liberator, promising to restore stability, unity, and democratic principles. He pledged to end corruption and tribalism, appealing to a populace yearning for a fresh start. However, this initial facade of benevolence would soon crumble, revealing the true, sinister nature of his ambition. The brief honeymoon period following the coup quickly dissolved as Amin began to systematically dismantle democratic institutions and consolidate absolute power. His leadership rapidly devolved into an unpredictable, violent, and deeply paranoid dictatorship. Any individual or group perceived as a threat, regardless of evidence, became an immediate target. Amin's regime established a terrifying apparatus of control, most notably through the State Research Bureau, SRB, and the Public Safety Unit, PSU. These clandestine security forces operated with impunity, becoming instruments of state-sponsored terror. Political opponents, dissenting soldiers, intellectuals, and ordinary civilians were systematically hunted down, subjected to arbitrary arrest, torture, and extrajudicial execution. The rule of law evaporated, replaced by the capricious will of the dictator. Amin's reign was tragically marked by a calculated campaign of ethnic persecution, targeting groups perceived as disloyal or aligned with the former regime. The Acholi and Lango ethnic groups, from which many of Obote's supporters and military officers hailed, bore the brunt of this horrific violence. Under Amin's direct orders, these communities were systematically purged from the army, then from civil service, and ultimately from existence itself in many regions. Mass killings, often carried out with extreme cruelty, became a grim reality. Torture chambers and clandestine detention centers proliferated, and disappearances became a daily occurrence, sowing widespread fear and distrust. This systematic targeting was not merely punitive, it was a deliberate strategy to eliminate potential opposition and reshape the demographic and political landscape of Uganda through terror. In August 1972, Amin made one of his most economically devastating and internationally condemned decisions: the expulsion of nearly 80,000 Ugandan Asians. These individuals, predominantly of Indian descent, had been integral to Uganda's economy for generations, forming the backbone of its commerce, industry, and professional sectors. They were given a mere 90 days to leave the country, often forced to abandon their businesses, homes, and possessions. Amin's motivations were complex, fueled by a mix of economic nationalism, racial prejudice, and a desire to appeal to populist sentiment. He seized their properties, distributing them among his loyalists and Africanizing the economy overnight. The immediate consequences were catastrophic. Businesses collapsed, essential services faltered, and the national economy spiraled into a deep recession. Shops emptied, jobs vanished, and hyperinflation took hold, plunging Uganda into severe economic hardship and international isolation. By the mid-1970s, Idi Amin had cultivated an elaborate cult of personality, bestowing upon himself grandiose titles such as His Excellency, President for Life, Field Marshal Al-Haji, Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC, DSO, MC, Lord of all the beasts of the earth and fishes of the sea, and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa in general and Uganda in particular. While he indulged in lavish displays of power and luxury, the nation suffered under his iron fist. Behind this grotesque facade, his regime was responsible for the deaths of an estimated 300,000 people, though some researchers place the figure even higher. This staggering toll is derived from meticulous historical research, including survivor testimonies, human rights reports, and demographic analyses that reveal significant population deficits. Bodies frequently floated in rivers, families vanished without a trace, and the pervasive fear of arbitrary violence controlled every aspect of life. The international community, despite growing awareness of the atrocities, largely remained paralyzed by geopolitical considerations and a reluctance to intervene. After years of unimaginable suffering and chaos, Amin's tyrannical rule began its inevitable collapse. His increasingly erratic behavior and aggressive foreign policy ultimately led to his downfall. In October 1978, Amin's forces invaded the Kagera salient of neighboring Tanzania, a grave miscalculation that triggered the Uganda-Tanzania War. Tanzanian forces, aided by Ugandan exiles forming the Uganda National Liberation Army, UNLA, launched a counter-invasion. By April 1979, Kampala had fallen, and Amin fled the country, escaping justice for the mountain of lives destroyed under his command. He spent the remainder of his life in exile, first in Libya and then in Saudi Arabia, never facing accountability for the horrific crimes against humanity he orchestrated. His escape from prosecution remains a poignant reminder of the complexities of international justice. Idi Amin's dictatorship stands as one of the darkest and most profoundly tragic chapters in African history. His cruelty, paranoia, and systematic violence reshaped a nation, leaving behind deep-seated scars that have endured for generations. The study of his regime is not merely an academic exercise, it is a vital endeavor for understanding the fragility of democracy, the dangers of unchecked power, and the enduring human cost of tyranny. We urge you to delve deeper into this critical period. Engage with the historical records, seek out survivor testimonies, and support research that illuminates such dark moments. If this historical analysis has resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth explorations, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What other historical figures or events demand this level of rigorous examination? Your engagement helps us continue to uncover and understand the truth behind the world's most complex histories.